This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. Welcome to Inside the Commission, a podcast all about gambling in Great Britain. Here we'll cover all the latest topics and trends from across the gambling sector and discuss the big issues that matter to you. From consumer queries to industry insights, we'll bring you the facts from the front line of regulation and share the stats and stories from those in the know. For all the latest discussions and updates, you can subscribe to our Gambling Commission YouTube channel, or you can find us on your preferred platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Welcome to this bonus summer episode where we're swapping buckets and spades for discussions on international collaboration on gambling regulation, the perfect listening material for your beach break. In this first part, we'll hear from Jamie Wall, Senior Manager, International Regulatory Partnerships from the Gambling Commission, as he interviews Jeremy Locke, the Vice President at NAGRA, the North American Gaming Regulators Association. This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast.
Hello all, this is Jamie in Nashville, Tennessee for the North American Gaming Regulators Association conference. This is a yearly conference bringing together gaming regulators from across North America, but the UK, we are delighted to be invited along every year as associated members, which has been a wonderful conference so far, listening to how different jurisdictions are tackling common issues, learning from one another, and thankfully finding ways that we can collaborate further, which is why I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast.
I'm Jeremy Locke. I'm the incoming president for the association, serving the members across North America.
And in your day job,
So in my day job, I'm the Deputy Chief Operating Officer at the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario in Canada. So I'm responsible for all of our frontline compliance operations, so all of our inspectors and auditors of that sort. Among all the other sectors we regulate for the purposes of this, both our land-based and internet gaming and sports betting lines of business that we oversee.
Well, we're delighted to welcome you to our podcast. So it might be good just to set the scene. What prompted your collaboration, specifically Ontario, but maybe speaking wider across NAGRA with the UK Gambling Commission?
Yeah, so I think that as we've seen, what I would argue is probably the most development and advancement in the world of all forms of gaming across North America over the last 5 or 6 years. We've seen this explosive modernization and evolution of the sector, and regulators across the continent have very quickly identified, especially with the advent of internet gaming, that the world has gotten much smaller very, very quickly. And an issue that's facing you in the UK, if it's not already facing regulators in the United States or Canada, it will be in very short order. And as NAGRA has worked really hard to identify those strategic partners that are at the cutting edge or leaders in the field of regulation, we're wanting to work really closely with them, whether they're the traditional NAGRA member or otherwise, if there's something that they can add to help us here in North America do a better job and stay on top of what is increasingly becoming more difficult to stay on top of, all those integrity challenges and thinking about safer gambling challenges. There's a lot to be learned from what's been happening over in the UK.
That's good to hear, and it's been really interesting to hear at the conference. We just had a session on tackling illegal gambling, and the Dutch Gambling Authority was called out as one that was leading the way. And it was great to hear that there are numerous connections over the Atlantic Ocean on many of these topics. And indeed, through some of our online forums, we now have a joint one between GREF, which is the Gambling Regulators European Forum, and NAGRA, sharing that best practice, sharing that information, because as you say, the world is a much smaller place than it was 5 years ago.
Absolutely. And now, especially with the advent of sports wagering, we're seeing sporting events in the UK and other places in the world that our markets over here in North America are betting on. And so when we have those integrity alerts coming in from the independent integrity monitors, we all need to come together because the UK may have, their integrity team taking a look at the very same thing, and we can act far more efficiently and far more quickly if we're coordinated in those efforts.
I think you've already answered my next question, which was, what value do you see from us working together closely? You mentioned sports betting integrity, tackling illegal gambling, range of areas that is where we're going to be seeing value.
100%. But then there's also, recognizing there are different legislative frameworks. And of course, where I come from, Canada has very much in common with, the United Kingdom regulatory system or like the system of law. In each state, what I've learned through my involvement with NAGRA is there are so many small differences between each state that really sometimes make it challenging to achieve a certain level of coordination. But we've got to find a way to do that so that way we can have a more seamless regulatory structure in these integrated markets, so that way we make it, we should have high standards, but we should make it easy for the operators operating our markets to understand what the requirements are and not need, the secret decoder ring at the bottom of the cereal box to try to figure that out as you move from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And I don't think that we'll ever get to the point that there's a universally applied regulatory model, but the more commonality we can have, the better I think that it will be. And I think that's one real area where, GREF and the UK Gambling Commission and IAGR and NAGRA can work together to try to at least, promote, that optimal outcome if we can get there.
And you mentioned IAGR. There has been some historical work, but hopefully in future increasing work on that, even if it's not necessarily what we're asking upon operators, but that if you're a new and emerging jurisdiction, you can go to a body like IAGR and you can get a breakdown of how you regulate this particular product, or how you license, how you deal with personal licenses. How is there, maybe a multi-jurisdictional testing framework focusing on those areas which are common across the world? There's a one-stop shop for that, hopefully creating some commonality in some places at least.
That's right. And even if the associations can play matchmaker, say, we're aware that this agency has been really successful here. So, talking about tackling the illegal markets. Well, we know there's a very good case study today by the Michigan Gaming Control Board. So go talk to those folks there. It worked for them. And the more we can do that, it saves, jurisdictions time. And I don't think there's really any pride of ownership in any of these models. And any jurisdiction I've ever spoken to has been very willing to be giving of their time, their expertise, and just say, take our model and make it right for your context, and just, take the things that work for you and change the things that don't. And, the more we can offer that assistance to each other through the associations, the better.
And just thinking a bit more globally, obviously there's increasing collaboration between Europe and North America, but you're going to be welcoming the world to Toronto come October. Maybe just a couple of points on that expanding worldwide.
Yeah, so we're very happy through the agency that I work for at the Alcohol and Gaming Commission to be the host agency for IAGR's annual conference in October, and I'll be really happy to represent NAGRA at that audience and really, espouse the benefits of us working together and welcoming everyone into the area that we're here to service, and trying to make those connections where they make sense. So, come and see us in Toronto. We'll be happy to have you and introduce you to some of the good work that's going on there.
We cannot wait to come. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this bonus summer episode. Listen out for the next part, where we'll hear from Tim Miller, Executive Director, as he adds some more detail to how working with international partners adds value to our work as a regulator here in Great Britain. This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. To stay up to date with the latest content, you can subscribe to our Gambling Commission YouTube channel, or you can find us on your preferred platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening.